welcome to the D3D4 Football Podcast with me, your host, James Richards.
Hello everyone, welcome to the D3D4 Football Podcast. We are back for, I guess, the first one of the new season. 2020-21 is finally upon us, and as is our tradition, we will start the season with our preview predictions, our 1 to 24 podcast where we look at where we think each team in both League 1 and 2 will finish. We're starting today with League 2. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, new listeners, welcome. Great to have you on board. Just to give you a bit of background about us, we are a podcast and website dedicated to giving you better, more in-depth coverage of the best divisions in the world. That is Division 3 and Division 4, as they're now known, Leagues 1 and 2 in England. We started this because they were blatantly neglected and frankly still are quite a lot by the sort of mainstream press. So we want to bring you a bit more about the teams that we all love. So that is what we exist for. You can be a patron and help us do that following our link on our Twitter page, and you can sign up for as little as 80p a month. But we are going to crack straight on this morning. And this one took quite a lot of deciding. It was a difficult debate between the three of us to sort of come to an agreed table. We have done it. And yeah, so I hope you enjoy it, and let's get going.
The D3D4 Football Podcast, dedicated to all things League 1 and 2.
Right, so Ed, kick us off. 24th place. Who do we think is going to struggle this season and end up bottom of the pack in League 2?
Well, it's not one they're going to want to hear, but we're going with Southend United. Look, last season was awful, truly awful in terms of both on and off the pitch, and unfortunately we're a bit concerned that it's going to be the exact same thing again. We love the signing of Mark Mallosley as manager. Hope he's got an ambitious future, especially after what he's done at Weymouth, but he's taken on such a difficult task. He's got a squad that certainly has got a lot of young promising players in, but there's doubts about whether they are necessarily the right level to keep this team afloat. And though they do have a bit of experience in people like Mark Osley and Timothy Dieng and John White still there, there's overall lack of quality in all the areas, particularly in midfield, and we're concerned that they're just not going to be able to keep themselves afloat. So a second relegation, unfortunately, could still be on the cards.
Yeah, indeed. It's a very thin-looking squad, a lot of young players. I think Jordan Green's a good signing, and maybe if you can keep Charlie Kelman and get Humphreys firing, you've got a chance. But
there's Brandon Goodship as well, I would say. Who will be looking forward to linking back up with Mallosley again. He used to be at Weymouth with him.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, and he scored a lot of goals there, didn't he? Yeah, exactly. He scored a lot of goals at Weymouth. So there is a little bit of hope there, but I think we'd have to see substantial additions to this squad if we're going to give them a hope of staying up. I know some of the fans have been pleased by pre-season, but I would urge on the side of caution. As we saw with Chesterfield coming down a few years ago, they went straight down again. It does happen, and I would argue that Chesterfield were probably in a slightly better place than Southend are. So yes, warnings for all. In 23rd place, I'll let Chris take this one.
Yeah, we're sticking with this theme of financial instability in Oldham Athletic, finishing 23rd. A couple of good additions, I think, in the transfer market, but as we've seen in recent seasons, we think there'll be these questions over late wage payments and other off-the-field issues really dominating things at the moment. And you've also got the high manager turnover. And one of the big concerns we're seeing going into the start of the season, just a week away now with the first League Cup game, is a really small squad side. There is not much depth in that side. And we think, there's a lot of tough pitches. There's a lot of hard tackles in this league. You need that depth if you're gonna get far.
I also think points deductions might not be out of the question this season. I know the EFL warned Oldham. They were, I think, aware of what's going on, but because it wasn't quite as bad as what happened at Macclesfield, they didn't take action. I have a feeling if it continues into this season, they may well do so. Like you say, manager turnover, good solid defence, which is positive, but overall depth is a concern. So yes, I think it will be a difficult season for the Latics, and that's really sad to say because it's been going on for about 30 years, this sort of slow decline. Not great. In 22nd, we've got Grimsby Town. Now, Ian Holloway, no one is doubting his ability as a coach, but a coach does need some players. and he hasn't got, well, he's hardly got any. They're very short of players at the moment. The players that they had last season that they let go, and these were players, a lot of them they wanted to keep. They offered new deals to, but they just weren't offering a package that would make sense for those players to stay. People like Elliot Whitehouse, Jake Hessenthaler, of course, left. These are first team players left, and at the moment they haven't signed, I don't think, any players to replace them in that first team role. George Williams is a good signing, and hopefully he will do well. But they've taken a lot of players out of non-league and are going to try and coach them and bring them into the first team. But with Charles Vernham leaving, Elliot Whitehouse, Elliot Grandin, obviously, who came in briefly, Jake Hessenthaler, Jordan Cook, these are all players who were in and around the first team last season. They haven't replaced them as we speak now. So there are concerns, and there was news, of course, that they're not going to get the loan guys back from Burnley either. So yes, a very thin squad. And right now I think it's going to be a big struggle unless they can sign some quality, really. A difficult season I predict ahead for Grimsby. I hope I'm wrong, but as it stands right now, there is a few concerns that we have over the Mariners. In 21st, Ed, who have we got in 21st?
Barrow. And this is a season that Barrow have been waiting, nearly 50 years for. They're finally back in the Football League. But we've got doubts. If this was the Barrow under Ian Evatt, we would be putting this team a lot higher because we know what to expect from them. We talk about the Barcelona team that they had last year, how fluid that was. We think they'd be really good. The problem is, it's no longer Ian Evatt, it's David Dunn. And we're not convinced. David Dunn hasn't really got a good track record. He had a okay sort of interim spell with Blackpool, and then they won several years ago with Oldham. I'm sure Chris can tell you about that if you want to ask him about that.
I'd rather not.
Exactly. But no, Barrow also have quite a small squad. I think Joel Dixon is the only senior goalkeeper on the list at the minute. Obviously, there's the talk about the John Rooney departure to Stockport County. It's been replaced by Luke James. There's a bit of doubt about that. Generally, the squad is okay, and it's not too great a step up from the National League to League Two, but there's little to convince us, particularly in the managerial area, that they're going to do especially well this season, so they could potentially struggle.
Yeah, I think an ambitious, Barrow would probably have been able to keep Ian Evatt, and that would have been amazing. I think we'd probably predict them a lot higher, but as it stands, there's a lot of unknowns going into this season. I think Mike Jones is an excellent signing. His experience will be a steady sort of experienced head in midfield, but yeah, a lot of unknowns from our perspective, and we think with a new manager who hasn't always impressed, but obviously I think deserves a bit more of a go than he did, or that he's had in the past. We will see. But Barrow, at the moment, we predict them to come 21st. And Chris, who have we got in 20th?
We've got for Stevenage, and this is one I think we all acknowledge that if the stars aligned, they could even potentially do better than this. Obviously, last season it just all went wrong. They had the fortune of financial instability elsewhere to give them a reprise this season, and I think they've made a much better go of it this summer. Obviously, last season they left their recruitment very, very late, and didn't particularly impress when they did get round to it. But they're making a better go of it at the moment, and I think it'll be a season for them to prove that they've got more than they did, but I don't think they'll blow anyone away either.
It's interesting. I'm not sure what to expect quite from these guys, because they've made some great transfer business, again, out of non-league, but they've also got some experienced heads in there with the likes of Cuthbert at the back. Prosser's come in from Colchester. Ben Coker.
Prosser impresses me.
Yeah, he's a good centre-back. Coker, if he can get over those injury troubles he's had, and by all accounts he should do. He's an excellent left-back. In fact, Wilden at right-back, that's a good back four. And then they've got pace this season going forward, which I think will offer, some real questions against some of these League Two defences. I think they'll cause trouble. I mean, the fact that they can't judge them by one game, but they did well against Portsmouth in the Cup, losing on penalties, but a 3-3 draw. I mean, 3 goals from Stevenage in the same game. I mean, how many did they score last season? 22 goals.
I think it was 3 last season, wasn't it?
Well, exactly.
It's an encouraging start, isn't it?
It is, and I think they'll do better. And I think it's been much more unified. The squad's less bloated. There's a lot more to like. And I think one to watch is the chap they brought in net from Chelsea, Jamie Cummings.
He looks really promising.
Yeah, well, he was their third keeper all season. He was going with them to all the Premier League games. So interesting to see how he does. So yeah, in 20th we have Stevenage. In 19th we have Scunthorpe. The Iron have had some troubles, let's say, over the last couple of seasons. They got relegated last season. They didn't really do very much at all. Paul Hurst's sacking came as a bit of a shock just when they were starting to look better, but disagreements with Peter Swan, the chairman, obviously were not. They couldn't patch those up, and they had to make a change. This season they come into it with a very young-looking squad. I think we do like their front three. They've got Issa, as I should say. They've got Issa, Van Veen, who's in there, and they've got Gilead, who we know was impressive last season. But there are question marks about the rest of the squad. Some of the transfer business, a little bit unknown, I'd say. Lewis Spence is decent from Ross County. Kelsey Mooney is a good young player. I actually thought Emmanuel Onaris is a very astute signing. He's a good centre-back. I think defensively they were a bit slow last season, so he should add to that. But overall, we still concerned that this young team will at times struggle with the physicality in League Two. So we think that it will be a season of continued rebuild, and let's hope that's all it is. Let's hope they don't struggle too much. But in 19th, we have Scunthorpe. Ed, who do we have in 18th?
Newport County. And if you like goals and games with goals in, Newport was not the place to go last season, quite simply. They did have one of the best defensive records, conceded just 39, but they only scored 32. So it wasn't really the place to go to goals. And to be honest, as much as we like Michael Flynn and we do like what that club does, they still look quite a way off going back towards that playoff finish they did last time. They've still got Tonkin goal. Obviously, we've had the really sad retirement of Mark O'Brien, which has been forced, which is a sad loss for everyone.
Indeed,
but they do still have Ryan Haynes, Scott Bennett, Ash Baker, Mickey Dimitri all available. So it should be a relatively solid back line. You've then got Josh Labadie and Josh Sheehan in midfield, who are a great pair of midfielders, I think. Brilliant pair. Matt Dolan and Robbie Wilmot as well. It's the strike force that we're looking at. Padraig Amond and Jamil Matt a couple of years ago were brilliant. Jamil Matt's obviously moved on. You have got Tristan Abrahams, who could partner Padraig Amond, but you do also have Ryan Taylor, who couldn't find a place in at Plymouth. And the hope is he might be more suited to Michael Flynn's style of play. So potentially we could be looking at a good partnership there. And if they can blossom that partnership, maybe we could see them finishing a bit higher than we think they will.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think they don't have a huge amount of depth, do they? Which is a bit of a concern. Their injury crisis last season, which was horrendous, it stopped the momentum they were trying to get, and it really caused them problems. But Ryan Taylor, we know he's had fitness issues. He's a very intelligent player, but if he's not fit, then that leaves them well short. I wouldn't be surprised to see a few more players added before the end of the window, but with the current financial situation and Newport being a club that are very cautious, and I think rightly so, I think it'll be a season where sort of lower mid-table wouldn't be that bad for them. So we have them in 18th. Chris, who do we have in 17th?
We've gone for Cambridge United. Not a great deal of change on last season where they finished 16th. Nothing I've seen in the transfer window has convinced me that they're going to make leaps and bounds forwards this season. Wes Houlihan could be an interesting one. There were rumours that they were going to sign him last season, and I think we all raised a little bit of an eyebrow at that one. If you get a good bit of form out of him, he could really be a solid signing in League Two. But beyond that, nothing's seen me that makes me think they'll finish any higher or any lower. I think they'll be safe, but I don't think they'll be too exciting either.
No, I think Paul Mullen's a good addition, but there is a concern about who's going to score them all their goals. Sam Smith, I assume, is not returning on loan from Reading, so we're not sure. Robbie Cundy's a good young centre-back, been watching him for a while. A lot of clubs were looking at him, so it was a good bit of business for Cambridge to pick him up. And with Darling at the back as well, so they've got a couple of good young defenders to look on. But yeah, I think goals and creativity in this side are lacking. Wes Houlihan has had injury problems. He had injury problems, I think, Ed, you were saying, wasn't it, over in Australia?
He was in Australia with Newcastle Jets before, and he had a big injury issue out there. So the hope is that it's not similar to what we had with Sammy Carruthers last year, where they just didn't get to see enough of them.
Indeed. So, yeah, a season of mid-table mediocrity predicted from us for Cambridge. In 16th, we have Harrogate Town. The Weavers have done a wonderful job, to be honest, of getting Harrogate into league football. They play a very high press. They're energetic. I watched them quite a lot in the National League last season, and have to say I was pretty impressed. They haven't lost any key players, and in fact, the signing of Connor Kirby in particular is impressive. He's a very energetic midfielder, and he was probably, arguably, the best player at Macclesfield in all the troubles they had last year. So that is a very good pickup. They've kept the bulk of that squad together. Kevin Loco's come in from Dover, and he's a defender who deserves a second chance in the league. He hadn't, I think he was at Stevenage before, and he didn't really get much of a look in. But he's come back, he's been picked up again. And overall, I think you'll see them just continue with the impressive performances that they put in last year. I think it'll be more of a struggle because obviously Jack Diamond was a key player for them, and he's gone. Sunderland looking to use him, I think, in League One. So, that is a concern, and it's their first foray into the EFL. So it's always going to be a little bit like, where do we think they'll be? It's hard to know, but I think a solid mid-table finish would be, I think would be happy for their fans, and they'll look forward to it. And so we have Harrogate finishing in 16th. Ed, in 15th, who have we gone for?
Morecambe. Look, no one defines League Two club like Morecambe. I think it's now their 14th consecutive season in this division, during which time they've finished everywhere from the playoffs down to relegation battles. And obviously last year saw January signings make a huge impact, but we feel with what they brought in, we don't think a relegation battle is really going to be on the cards for this team. There's a lot to come in. It's obviously Derek Adams' first full season. He's got the Burnley loan pair back of Ryan Cooney and Adam Phillips, who were both brilliant last season. They come in. Grimsby's Harry Davis has come in. Nathaniel Knight-Percival's in, who's a bit of an iffy one after last season, but Stephen Hendry looks decent as well. Mark Halstead's probably going to continue in goal, who's fine. Carlos Mendes-Gomez still under contract with Slew, Stocks and Leach-Smith. Ben Pringle's in. Liam McCallenden's in. It's generally quite a good-looking squad, this, and we think they're going to improve on what was a relatively difficult season last year that came good in the end.
Yeah, they've got Diego Raga in midfield, who I think, without having to actually... He's not what he was in terms of pace and running, but he's very good at sort of picking out the passes and controlling the pace of the game from the centre of the pitch. Ben Pringle, I think, is a good signing, good deliveries you'll see from him this season. Harry Davis could be with Sam Lavelle a decent partnership. I know some fans question Harry Davis as a player, but he's solid enough, I think. Nathaniel Knight-Percival was poor for Carlisle, no doubt about that. Whether or not Derek Adams can get more out of him, we'll have to wait and see. But Kevin Miller, he's all right, and it'll be interesting to see who plays between him and Ryan Cooney. A bit of a battle there for the right back spot. But yes, I think this is an improving team, and I think mid-table, I wouldn't be too much of a bad shout here. In 14th, Chris, who have we got in 14th?
Leyton Orient. We were delighted to see them back in the Football League last season, and obviously last season was sort of shrouded in tragedy for them, really, and thankfully they've had a more stable off-season this year, but not too much in the way in. They've had Usay Cisse, which they had on loan from Gillingham last season. Really, if they're going to get any higher than that, we think they need to bring in a few more recruits, but otherwise a solid mid-table season.
Yeah, I don't expect them to really improve much on last year. I have a few question marks over Ross Embleton, and maybe that's harsh, but his record, if you actually look at it, is not great. He does have a decent squad there. Sortarayo up front, I think is a really interesting prospect, and he's done well to keep him. I know there was interest from other clubs, and I think if he's sensible and is given game time regularly this year, this could be a massive season for him. I like Dan Happ. I think they've got some solid defenders. Coulson's still there. Not a big fan of Turley, but he's a depth defender. I think in midfield with Wright, Jordan Maguire-Drew, they've got players who can be quite creative. So it'll be much of a muchness for them. I think they'll be very similar to last year. If they can improve a touch, then I think it'll be a good thing. But at the moment, we have Leyton Orient firmly in the middle of the pack in 14th. In 13th, a bit of disagreement over this one. Hard to place them after last season, but we've gone for Colchester United. Colchester obviously losing out in the playoffs last season, but in doing so, they had to get rid of some key players. Luke Prosser being one of them, but there were several others as well. Ryan Jackson, who's actually gone up a division to return to Gillingham, was one that we looked at and thought, Brandon Comley will be at Bolton this coming season. Frank Newball's in League One with Plymouth, so they've lost some talented players. But there is hope. They've got a solid squad, I'd say. Shamal George coming in as a goalkeeper to give Dean Gherkin a bit of a run for his money, and Tommy Smith signing at the back is important because losing Luke Prosser losing that experience and that leadership. They've brought in Tommy Smith to do that role, play that role, and I think he'll do well. Our concerns are really like they've only got Luke Norris up front. They've literally just got one striker, and I think Poku will score more goals and be more involved this year as he develops even further, and probably will end up being their key man. But I just have concerns that they're not going to quite be able to replicate the form that they did last season and get in the playoffs. So we've gone for a mid-table position for them, and we have Colchester currently in 13th. Ed, who have we gone for in 12th as we creep into the top half?
We've got Crawley Town, and this is one that you might want to keep an eye on because this is a decent side. John Yems obviously came in before Christmas last year, replacing Chelsea, and he put together a team that maybe wasn't the best in the division, but you had to be at your best to get past them. They were such a difficult unit to get through. And yes, they've lost a couple of notable absentees to the division above, but they've still got a very good squad that could well end up being in the playoff hunt, even if we have got them in 12th, just missing out. Obviously, Glenn Morris is in goal, who was brilliant last year, statistically one of the best goalkeepers, possibly the best, depending on what your opinion on it was. At the back, you've got Jordan Tunnicliffe, who's probably going to be partnered by Tony Craig. That's a solid partnership. Josh Docherty out on the left and David Cisse on the right, who was attracting championship interest during last season, so it'd be interesting to see if they can still keep hold of him. John Yems is going to be desperate to keep hold of Bez Labala, who was one of the division's best wingers last season. Hopefully he can keep him. That gives you opportunity to put someone like Rhys Gregor Cox or Nathaniel George or maybe even Felipe Mbaresh if they play him on the right. Panucci Kamara went to Plymouth, obviously, which is a loss, but they've still got Danny Bowman, who's still going strong and probably will keep going till he's 60, the way he's going.
Yeah.
And then obviously up top as well, Ollie Palmer, top scorer, it's a loss. And there's wonders about who could replace Ashley Nadazan, but we reckon Ricky Germain could easily take that spot alongside Nadazan, and that is a decent front two there. So perhaps they don't look quite as strong on paper as they were last year, but this is definitely a side that if they can get right, are worth keeping an eye on.
Yeah, I'm a bit hotter on them than you two were, to be fair, and I think that John Yems has got the right idea. Play it simple, keep the system simple, make the players understand exactly what their roles are, be hard to beat and give everything in every game, and I think we might see them do slightly better than we expect. I think obviously at the back they've got great depth because Dallison, Tony Craig, John Tunnicliffe, these are three good centre-backs, and that experience that Tony Craig brings will obviously be, I think, vital. As the season goes on, it's going to be a heavy season on the legs, I think, for some of these players. Not really had like a proper break, actually, and it'll be interesting to see how that transpires. Obviously, Ollie Palmer and Kamara gone, but yeah, we like this team, and we think minimum top half finish for them. Right, in 11th, Chris, who have we gone for in 11th?
We've gone for Walsall, and as Ed said before with Crawley, we're sort of in that part of the table that gets really difficult to predict at the moment. They're a side we could see, perhaps flirting with the playoffs or dropping a bit down. It's a tricky one to place, but they've brought George Nurse and Rory Holden in from Bristol City. Both look like exciting young talents, and Rory Holden adding a little bit to their attack, which was looking somewhat thin before that. They've got the likes of Wes McDonald in there that impressed us at times last season. I think we saw a lot of teething issues, as we've seen with other teams that dropped down from League One into League Two last season. They look like a much more settled side. They've kept hold of the good parts of their squad and lost a little bit of the deadwood, and I think that sort of settled squad is really important if you're going to find success at this level.
Yeah, I would not be surprised at all to see them up there in the playoff places, because they have got this settled squad. They've got Darryl Clark as their manager, who's been there, done that before. They've also got Josh Gordon and Adebayo up front, who both look quite good at the end of last season, formed a good partnership. It looks like Josh Gordon in pre-season has been played a bit more on the right with Rory Holden further forward. That's fine. And I think we'll see George Nurse become, a fan favourite because he's got a sweet left foot. He's a very, very good player. Upgrade on Pring, who they had last season, Cameron Pring. So, yes, I like this Walsall team, and I think stability and keeping the bulk of your squad together will maybe be quite an important factor in success this season, as we'll come to a bit later on in this podcast. Right, 10th. In 10th, a difficult decision this, but we've gone with Bradford City. I just feel a little bit uninspired by them, to be honest. I think last season they started well. They had the potential to do a bit better than they ended doing, but obviously Bowie was sacked and in comes Stuart McCall, and he's had not really, I don't think, the ability to change the squad a huge amount. and maybe that's to the detriment of that team. They brought in Levi Sutton, Billy Clark, Dylan Motley-Henry is coming on a permanent deal. Callum Cook also joins permanently. And Elliot Watt, who was at Carlisle last season, a sort of a deep-lying playmaker for an undisclosed fee from Wolves. That's a very good bit of business. But there's still a lot of question marks about how this team are going to play. Are they going to create enough chances? Are they really going to get the goals that they need to challenge? We're not sure. We're not certain. And I think because of that, we've gotten, for them missing out on the playoffs, could be in there with a battle. But at the moment, for us, we've got Bradford City in 10th. But I think a lot of the players they let go, Hope Akpan finally left, Shane McCartan, Jake Reeves, Kelvin Mellor, these are players that the fans probably didn't really have much of affinity with and are happy to see those players leave. It's just a case of have they got enough quality to compete with some of the better squads at this level. Not convinced of that as of yet. In 9th, Ed, who have we gone for in 9th?
We've got Carlisle United, and this is one that quite a lot of fans I've been seeing are very keen on looking at, kind of a dark horse this season, and we agree with them largely on that. They might miss out on the playoffs, but we're very, very confident they're going to improve on last season.
Absolutely.
Which I think was 19th. Chris Beach, first full season in charge. He's done a big squad overhaul. You've got the likes of Magnus Norman and Paul Tharman in goal. Tharman did not deserve to have the season he did with Stevenage last year. He was one of the division's best keepers, so it'd be great to see him with another club. And it's relatively local, I think. I think he's from the northeast, I think, isn't he?
He's a Newcastle fan, yeah.
He's a Newcastle boy, so a good trip up north for him. And then in defence in front of him, you've got the likes of Joe Riley from Bradford, who's hopefully going to get a season because he just did not get the chance due to injury last year at Bradford. George Tanner, I've hyped up before as a fantastic signing. He was absolutely brilliant at Morecambe in the first half of last season. Didn't get a sniff at Salford, but still has got so much promise, and it's great to see him there. You've got Aaron Hayden, who's now vice-captain. He's 23, the centre-back. He's going to be one to keep an eye on, especially after Brantwaite's moved to Everton last year. That could be the next guy defensively coming through. Danny Devine's come into midfield. Dean Thurman's in midfield. Brennan Dickinson's available on the left. Hopefully John Mellish and Callum Guy can stay in midfield as well. Joshua Coyote's back on Rotherham for a loan deal, which is going to be brilliant. Is it Guime Toure? Is that
they call him Jimmy Toure, but
Jimmy Toure.
He was very impressive for Hartlepool last season.
Yeah.
I sometimes wonder when he's dribbling whether his sort of understands what his feet are actually doing, but there's nothing wrong with that actually. I think that's an exciting kind of play because the fans will be like on the edge of their seat. But that cardboard cutout of the manager, that's had a hell of a workout.
League Two already. There's still a bit of doubt. I know it doesn't look like Nathan Thomas is going to come back. If he did, then we'd really be looking at a very strong squad here. But even still, I think there's I remember reading, there's less than 20% of last season's squad here at Carlisle. And obviously when you bring in that many people, it can take time for them all to fully gel. But if Beach can get it going early, it's worth keeping an eye on this team, definitely.
Yeah, I think there's always question marks when you have a high turnover of players, isn't there? That, how are they going to do? How are they going to gel together? I think the only question I have as well with this team is, are they going to score enough goals? There's no one I look at. I mean, Gavin Riley, we know he scored a good amount of goals for
I think Joshua Coyote will be all right.
He's pacey, isn't he?
I thought he was pretty good in the back end of last season. It wasn't ever very long because obviously the season ended early, but I thought he was doing relatively quite well in the back end of last season.
Yeah, indeed. No, he was. So, but that'll be for me my only sort of question: who's going to get the goals? But I do like this team. I do like the way that they bring in young players with sell-on value. They're bringing the age down. I think they've got a lot of faith and a much better recruitment system in this season for the first time. So, really pleased to see the business done, and we've gone for them in 9th. Right. In 8th, Chris, who have we gone for in 8th? Just missing out on that playoff spot.
Yeah, just missing out. Forest Green Rovers. I've spoken personally before of my admiration for the style of football Mark Cooper gets them playing. Just a few question marks going into the season, particularly around goals.
And maybe even the manager, I'd say, as well, after some of those shenanigans last season.
I think you might be right, yeah, but they still struggled without Christian Deutsch at times last season. Jamil Matz looks promising in pre-season, but I still think they might struggle for goals. We love their midfield. The likes of Carl Winchester in there, Ebou Adams, Scott Wagstaff, all really good players.
Elliot Whitehouse as well, added from Grimsby.
Yeah, I mean, I could name every player in that midfield, and they have got a really good squad, and if they can get going and if they can find those goals, I would not be surprised to see them make the playoffs. I don't think any of us would here, but at the moment, we just don't think they quite have enough.
No, it's going to be very tight. I think Luke McGee's a big signing because they've had some terrible goalkeepers over the last few seasons.
Had some awful ones.
Oh, well, maybe it's the way they play, but they've just had some goalkeepers that make dreadful errors, and it's, you know, it seems to be a catching. It's like a cold that spreads amongst the keepers. You know, it's not good. So yeah, I think that's an improvement certainly. But yeah, where they're going to score the goals is the one concern. And Mark Cooper as well. He's got through a lot of players. His turnover of players at this club have been huge in the last.
Does this because I was doing some research for Oldham because obviously we're notorious for our turnover for players, and I'm pretty sure Forest Green had an even greater turnover of players than us.
I think they're approaching 100 players. I think is what I've heard, and he's been there since 2016.
That's great.
Yeah,
I think we're approaching 100. Which is quite incredible.
I mean, it's amazing that they've pretty much been around the playoffs in that time as well.
They have, but they fell away badly. So that man management, we need to see how it goes, because Cooper is clearly he's good, but he hasn't quite taken them to the next level yet, and I'd be surprised. But Jordan Moore-Taylor, good signing. Really like him. Hopefully he'll stay fit this season because he'll boss this level for sure.
And Joe Mills leaving as well.
Oh, Joe Mills, yeah, of course.
They
lost.
It's pretty much a completely new back line, apart from maybe Chris Stokes and Liam Kitching.
Yeah. Chris Stokes only came in January, didn't he, last season? So, right, let's move into the playoff places, because in 7th, we've gone for Exeter City. More heartbreaking, the playoffs perhaps ahead for them.
Oh, no.
It's the last thing they want, really, isn't it?
It is.
Fans.
They've kept the vast majority of their squad together. I think they've got rid of the players that they felt weren't going to contribute. Jake Caprice comes in, which puts question marks over Ryan Sweeney's role in the team. Rory McArdle coming in to replace Aaron Martin. He's more experienced and physical. I just question his performances, particularly over the last couple of seasons. But I think, in midfield, they're excellent. They're going to play, it looks like 4-4-2 this season. They've got Ryan Bowman, who can score goals up front. They've got, obviously, Nicky Law, who will probably play on that left-hand side, meaning that on the right, they'll keep Brandel Williams, and he's been brilliant. And if they keep hold of him and have that sort of attacking pace down each flank, they're going to do quite well. I think they're going to be a hard team to play against. There are question marks, obviously, because they didn't quite make it last season. They're a bit hit and miss at times. Defensively, I'm a bit concerned, how they're going to perform. But yes, I think Exeter City are a pretty stable side, and we like what they do. Obviously, they got a fee from Aston Villa for Ben Cressine, so that'll be put back into the team. And overall, we're very pleased with what they've got. I think Sparks will improve. Caprice will come down the right, so they're going to have better width this season, I think, and that will do them good because they've got natural players in those positions who will give them and create them chances. Just whether or not they can rely on Bowman for his goals, because Nicky Ajose didn't really do very much last season. I know he was injured for the sort of early part of it, but they probably do need to find more goals from elsewhere, and that would be my only concern. But we have them in the playoffs, and we have them in 7th. Ed, who do we have in 6th?
Mansfield Town, and this one we had quite a bit of debate. I seem to remember about this when picking Mansfield Town. Look, last season was a disaster. We can't doss away from that. It was awful. There's definitely the potential to improve, and they have done, quite another big squad overhaul. Marek Steck's coming in goal, should be all right. We're not big on this back three that they use, particularly under Graham Cofton. We're not particularly big on it. Malvin Benning, obviously, playing as wing backs. You've got James Clark, Roland Benayise's come in from Bristol Rovers, obviously, as the man he's familiar with. I personally am really a big fan of the Theron Rawson signing. I think he's a very good player. You've got Corey O'Keefe, who can play any way you want.
He's brilliant signing. Really like him.
It is a fantastic signing. Then in midfield, Ollie Clark and George Maris are in. That's a decent one to go alongside William Thomas and Harry Charlie.
I reckon James Perch will play at the base of that as well.
Potentially, yes. Jamie Reed's in from Torquay, who's an exciting signing. Jordan Barry's in from MK Dons. You've then got Danny Rose, Nicky Maynard and Andy Cook as well. The striker options look really good for Mansfield this season, which is really encouraging. And I think there's a lot of people who think Mansfield are going to go straight back up. We're not fully convinced about that, but they could definitely improve and have definitely got the potential to end up in the playoffs.
I'd argue that if you don't get the playoffs with this squad, especially the
Yeah,
strike force. It's a failed season again.
I would not be I wouldn't be too disappointed about top 7 finishes. I'm a Mansfield fan, but I think if you don't end up there, it's quite disappointing.
It is. There's no, I think they've changed their recruitment strategy a little bit. They're going for younger players generally, or players that they feel that they can develop themselves. But they're still signing. Ollie Clark's a great signing if they can keep him fit. He was brilliant for Bristol Rovers. Jordan Barry, I think he's a squad player, and I don't think it's a bad pickup, but I'm not convinced he'll be, the first choice when you've got all that depth up top. But nothing wrong with having a sort of some squad players in there who can offer stuff off the bench. But overall, I think probably they've burnt us before, Mansfield, so we're a little bit cautious on them.
That's our issue with
it. That's it. So exactly. So we've put them in 6th, and I think that'll be an aim and an ambition for them, and let's see if they can do it. Right, Chris, who do we have in 5th?
Cheltenham Town. Some suggesting they might have a little bit of a playoff hangover. We're saying they've got a hair of the dog. Couple of good signings that they've brought in. Andy Williams, Liam Sercombe, Finn Azaz from West Brom looks to be a promising signing. And of course, there was so much we raved about Cheltenham Town all last season, and they've not really lost the good parts of that squad. So providing the morale's not hit from last season, we think they'll repeat their playoff excitement again this season.
Yeah, very stable team. Obviously, Jacob Greaves gone back to Hull. He'll probably play a big part with them this season. Ryan Broom going to Peterborough. That was always on the cards, but Liam Sercombe should help soften that blow somewhat. Andy Williams, can he replace Reg Varney? I think Varney is a player who's, with his injury problems, didn't actually feature a huge amount at the second half of last season. I think Alfie May will be a big player this year. So they should replicate what they do. I wouldn't be surprised to see them drop off a little bit, maybe. If
they can recreate that defence, they're going to be right up there. Mm-hmm. And they still could. Josh Griffiths could potentially be in goal. You've still got Boyle, Tozer and Raglan as a back three. Yeah. Hussey and Sean Long, who are going to be 2 of the best wing-backs again this season. You can be sure of that. So if they can recreate that and then keep that midfield unit and the front line as it was, they're going to be up there.
They are indeed. Right, in 4th place, we have Salford City. They should really be a team that look to get into the automatic promotion places. I mean, you could debate where they'll finish, anywhere sort of from maybe mid-table upwards, because the one thing we're not convinced about is the style of play that they have under Graham Alexander. Obviously, they go direct far too often for a side with the quality that they have, but they've added, and they did a lot of this, I noticed, before the salary cap came into force. They've added Tom Clark, captain at Preston. They've added Ash Hunter, who was on loan last season. Jason Lowe, who's an experienced player, can play full-back and midfield. Jordan Turnbull, who was part of the promotion squad with Northampton. Vaclav Haldicki, is it?
Hadlicki? Oh, I don't know.
The goalkeeper who was at St Mirren, who was a very fond fan favourite there, so he should be an improvement. And of course, Ian Henderson, one of the best, if not the top scorer, isn't he, in League One history? They've added him, so he's going to be able to score goals. It's just, can they create enough for them? Have they got enough strength in that central midfield? Don't forget they've got Bruno Andrade in this team, who, rumours have it, is in the highest paid players in the division. So, I mean, they've got a wonderful squad of players. The only question mark we have is over whether the manager has got enough about him to get them playing the kind of football that will create them enough chances to do it. They did have a good end to last season, so it's worth keeping an eye on, because they've got Asante, is it Thomas Asante up front?
Brandon, he's a very good, very promising player.
Yeah, very good. They've got Elliott, obviously brought in from Millwall. They've got James Wilson from Manchester. They've got...
it's an unbelievable squad.
Richie Towell as well, who wouldn't be outplaced in the Championship. So
the squad on paper is phenomenal, but like you say, we're just not fully convinced that Graham Alexander's getting the best football out of them.
Indeed, yeah, that is the thing. But Ed, which team have we got in 3rd who we are convinced about their depth of squad and indeed the manager that's taken charge?
Yep, it's the team that have suddenly gone from being massively unstable to one of the most stable outfits and promising ones out there. It's Port Vale. Look, I don't think any of us really saw what they were going to do last season. I think we had them quite low down. They ended up just missing out on the playoffs and then selflessly voted to end the season early as well. And we think they can really kick on. And the main reason is all the core of that squad from last season have signed new contracts and kept themselves on. So you've got Scott Brown, you've got Christian Montana, you've got Leon Legg, you've got Nathan Smith, you've got James Given as a back four and a goalkeeper, which is phenomenal. Then you've got people like David Fitzpatrick and Zach Mills in behind them, Joyce Conlon and Burgess in midfield, Matt Costill, Danny Whitehead's in there as well, David Amu and David Worrell back out the wings who will fire again. And I love their frontline options. You've got Tom Pope, Mark Cullen, Devante Rodney and Theo Robinson. That's a great mix of strikers, and it basically means that Port Vale can go with whatever approach they want into games, and that's going to make them a really useful force this season.
Yeah, they play a very stable system as well, like a 4-3-3. I think Taylor, who obviously was there last season, that's the only real loss. I think that they'll be disappointed to miss out on him, but I think they've sort of culled off the squad with players that weren't really featuring, and they've improved it. So absolutely no reason for me not to think that they will do better and be challenging. If they're in the playoffs, that's great, but we just have them sneaking into those automatic places, and good luck to them, because fans are great, the club is great, their owners are now great, which is wonderful to say at Port Vale, because they've had a few years of not so great ownership, which we won't go into on here. But yeah, good to see them back. In second place, Chris, you'll enjoy doing this.
Well, I think you say that, but all three of us had them around this position, if memory serves. Tranmere Rovers, look, they were one of the sides that were hardest hit by the decision to curtail the season, just dropping down, and I think that sense of injustice they have, that sense of frustration will serve them well this season. I think there'll be a real determination to show what they're about, and I think they're strong in every part of the pitch. I think Jace Fearing and Otis Khan add to a really good midfield, and I say this through gritted teeth. Ollie Banks, I think, will do well for them. I say that through gritted teeth as an Oldham fan, because he didn't do so well for us, but he's really found his home at Tranmere, and looks like a really impressive playmaker. I think Peter Clark maybe won't play so much in their defence, but I think he'll have a lot of experience from a coaching and stability side. I can speak all day about how good this Tranmere side is, and I think we all think that they'll have a very good season.
We do. I had them a bit lower, if I'm honest. I'm just not sure about the transition. But Paul Lewis is a player you didn't mention, who came in from Cambridge. He was quite a good goal-scoring midfielder last season at Cambridge. So they do have depth. They have depth in every position. If they don't play Peter Clark, Sid Nelson could always partner Manny Month, who's a tried and tested defender.
He's going to be back to being the lower league Van Dijk again, as they called him. You be ready. He's going to be back in that division. You watch him. Yeah,
he's going to be good. They do have depth everywhere, and I think they're a good side. They've got like Stephen Payne, who may be on the bench because they've got the likes of James Vaughan, who can play up front as well. They've just got a very good squad, very stable squad, good owners, and they've got an excellent fan base as well. So there's a lot to like about this team. Let's just hope that there is no other issues this season with the pandemic that we've seen, and that we get a full season and they get to exact their revenge on the EFL and get themselves back to where they should be, which is back into League One. Right, well, there only leaves one place, and that is the team we think will finish as champions, and indeed, looking at the squad, should probably finish as champions. It is Bolton Wanderers. Maybe a bit of a boring pick because they're a big side, but if you look at their recruitment, they've got Plymouth Argyle's player of the season. They brought in Anthony Sarcevic, of course, and that was a promotion-winning midfielder last year. They brought in the top scorer of this division last season with Owen Doyle. George Taft is a good signing. Brandon Comey's a good midfielder. Tom White, who was at Barrow under Ian Evatt's, come in. They've got Liam Gordon joining from Dagenham, who's highly rated, can play at the left side. They've got depth everywhere. Nathan Defonso, he's a player who's played in League One at Blackpool for many seasons, and he'll be a good signing. But I think what we're most excited about really is the fact Ian Evatt plays a wonderful style of football. And that is exactly what you need to do to get the best out of the players that they've got. And so it could be, like a marriage made in heaven, this. Really interesting to see. And I think Bolton fans do deserve a good season. They've had some pretty hard times recently. I don't think there's any arguments, guys, is there, about the quality of the squad? Ed, I'll just come to you for a word on Bolton.
The only thing I'd say, and we've said this before, is and it's particularly around Johan Doyle. I think a lot of Bolton fans who probably weren't watching League Two last season will look at Johan Doyle and think, here we go, we've got a 20-goal striker. There's a certain way you have to use Johan Doyle, which is you just let him do what he wants. If you go and play him as a target man, you completely wasted your time.
Yeah, you don't want him running in the channels.
You give him the free role, you just tell him, let him do what he wants, let him go what he wants, and you will get probably another 20 goals after it. I would be out of the range to say that. But that's the area I'd say I particularly think Sarcevic is going to be brilliant. Back up in the northwest, I think it'll be fantastic again.
Yeah, I think they've got a great squad, and yeah, let's wait and see. That is it, guys. That is our 1 to 24 prediction table. Obviously, feel free to debate it with us on Twitter. These guys will be, I'm sure, willing to give you their opinions. And
I'm logging out for a couple of days.
Yeah, fight their corner. We shall see. But yeah, thank you for those who've listened to this. If you want to, jump over to listen to our League 1 to 24 prediction podcast, which will be released at the same time as this one. But yeah, big thank you to all our listeners, and look forward to the season ahead. Goodbye.